Hey, financial futurists, and welcome back to Financial Sci-Fi. Ever stopped to think about what money really is? I mean, really think about it. Is it this piece of paper, this plastic card, or these glowing numbers on your phone screen? What if I told you that most of the money in the world doesn't actually exist? Not in a physical sense, anyway. It's a collective agreement, a shared story, a grand illusion that we all participate in. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this illusion. We're going on a journey from the dawn of trade to the digital age to understand how a simple idea transformed into the complex global system that runs our lives. Buckle up, because we're about to explore the biggest science fiction story ever told, the story of money. Imagine a world thousands of years ago, long before cash or crypto. You're a farmer and you've got a surplus of wheat, but you need a new pair of shoes. The local shoemaker, however, doesn't need wheat. He needs a new clay pot. So you have to find a potter who needs wheat, trade for a pot, and then take that pot to the shoemaker. It's complicated, right? This is the problem of the double coincidence of wants. To solve this, humanity needed something that everyone agreed had value. Something durable, portable, and rare. Enter the first forms of money. We're talking seashells, particularly cowrie shells, used across Africa and Asia. They were beautiful, hard to find, and you couldn't just create more of them. In other places, it was salt so valuable that the word salary comes from the Latin word for salt, salarium. We also used giant stone discs, feathers, and beads. The object itself wasn't always the point. The point was the shared belief that it was worth something. It was a technology of trust, a physical token representing a social agreement. This was money, version 1.0. But shells and salt had their limits. They weren't easily divisible, and carrying a ton of salt to buy a cow wasn't practical. So humanity upgraded. We discovered metals like gold and silver. These were perfect. They were rare, they didn't rust, they were easily divisible, and you could melt them down and stamp them into standardized units, coins. For the first time, value became standardized. A coin from one kingdom was recognizably valuable in another. This made trade explode. Empires were built on gold and silver. It felt real, tangible. You could hold wealth in your hand. For centuries, this was the system. Money was a physical thing, backed by the inherent value of precious metal. But even this was about to change. Carrying sacks of gold coins was heavy and dangerous. So a new innovation emerged, the IOU. Wealthy merchants and goldsmiths started offering a service. You could deposit your gold with them for safekeeping, and in return, they'd give you a paper certificate, a promise that you could redeem it for your gold at any time. People started trading these paper notes instead of the actual gold because it was just so much easier. They trusted that the paper was as good as gold. And just like that, the link between money and physical stuff began to stretch. Money was no longer the thing itself, but a promise of the thing. This is where the real sci-fi twist begins. The banks, those old goldsmiths, noticed something fascinating. People rarely came to redeem all their gold at once. On any given day, maybe only 10% of the depositors would show up. So the banker thinks, I have 1,000 gold coins in my vault, but I've only issued paper notes for that amount. What if I issue more notes? The banker starts lending out new paper promises, notes that aren't backed by any physical gold in their vault. They're essentially creating money out of thin air based on the statistical bet that not everyone will ask for their gold back at the same time. This is the birth of fractional reserve banking, the system we still use today. Think about that. The bank only has to keep a fraction of its deposits in reserve. The rest, it can loan out. And when it loans money, it doesn't hand over a stack of cash. It just credits the borrower's account with digital numbers. That new digital money is then spent and deposited in another bank, which then keeps a fraction and loans out the rest. It's a money creation multiplier. Today, more than 90% of the money in the economy exists only as digital entries on bank ledgers, created not by governments, but by commercial banks every time they issue a loan. It's an incredible, self-perpetuating system built entirely on confidence. As long as we all believe those numbers have value and that the bank can honor our withdrawals, the illusion holds. But what gives these numbers or the paper notes in our wallets their value today now that they're not backed by gold? The short answer is government decree and our collective belief. This is called fiat money, fiat being Latin for let it be done. A government declares that its currency is legal tender and you have to use it to pay taxes. That creates a baseline of demand. But beyond that, its value comes from the same place the cowrie shell's value came from. We all agree to accept it as payment. Its value is a shared social construct. This system, however, has a built-in feature that can feel like a bug: inflation. Inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and subsequently, the purchasing power of currency is falling. Why does this happen? Well, if more money is created and pumped into the economy, either by banks making lots of loans or by central banks printing it, you have more money chasing the same amount of goods and services. When demand outstrips supply, prices go up. Your dollar, pound, or euro buys a little less than it did yesterday. Think of it like a limited edition sneaker drop. If there are only 100 pairs, the price is high. If the company suddenly releases 10,000 more pairs, the value of each individual pair plummets. A little inflation is often seen as a good thing by economists, as it encourages people to spend and invest rather than hoard cash that's losing value. But when it gets out of control, it can destroy savings and destabilize entire economies. It's a constant balancing act, managed by central banks who try to keep the illusion stable by adjusting interest rates and controlling the money supply. They are the wizards behind the curtain, trying to maintain our collective belief in the system. So from shells on a string to numbers on a screen, the evolution of money is really the evolution of trust. We've moved from trusting in rare objects to trusting in metal, to trusting in paper promises, to now trusting in digital code and the institutions that manage it. Each step was an abstraction, moving money further away from anything physical and turning it into pure information. The device you're watching this on right now is more of a bank branch than the brick-and-mortar building downtown. Your wealth is a string of ones and zeros on a server somewhere. What does the future hold? Are cryptocurrencies the next logical step, a trustless system that doesn't rely on banks or governance? Or are they just another form of fiat money, backed only by the belief of their users? Will we move to central bank digital currencies, giving governments even more direct control over the money supply? The story of money is far from over. It's a sci-fi saga we are all living in, a testament to human ingenuity and our incredible capacity for collective belief. Money isn't real, but its impact on our world is undeniable. It's the most powerful and persistent illusion humanity has ever created. What do you think is the next chapter in the story of money? Let me know your sci-fi theories down in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Thanks for joining me on this journey through time and trust. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe to Financial Sci-Fi, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the future of finance. Until next time, stay curious and keep questioning.